Peace in the name of Allah. I'm Aubrey Muhammad. I pray that everyone is well. Hempstead, family, friends, and believers, welcome to my live session. The true legacy of our honored ancestor, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I didn't go live on the Facebook Live today. I had a headache today. I was getting prepared. I started a new exercise regimen, working out, and it just gave me a bad headache. I was like, oh, I must have moved and stretched in the wrong way. So I'm doing a live session. You see the screenshot from the Zoom with Dr. King, our honorable ancestor, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., with the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and that movement. So that's a screenshot. And I pray that everyone holiday was well. This is a national holiday of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., recognizing him nationally. And okay, I see my brother Julius Eatman, my brother Tehran. Peace to the God, brother. He said, perfect. Thank you for giving me that input. Because I got a different setup here today. Normally I do the Facebook Live, but I'll be doing a live through the Zoom now. And then actually the next live I do, it'll be Zoom, but it will be through Facebook Live, through Zoom, via Zoom. It's a lot better. Real fast, I know it's late, 10:49, good. I'm here with the night owls anyway. We enjoy the evening hours. A lot of people sleep because they say that's tapping into slept energy. That's tapping into people who aren't aware. Their consciousness is down. So you literally riding off sleep energy of other people. If you ever connect with people and you have that feeling and that sense of oneness, especially with your relatives and your loved ones. Isn't that something? Okay, real fast, let me get to the updates here. There's a couple. The first update is on mom's eviction court date. Be sure to support her. That's my mom's. That is March 13th, 2023. That's 2 months from now. District Court, 99 Main Street, Hempstead. Show your support. I'll also put the GoFundMe. We're raising funds for her legal defense and eviction. I'll put it in the link after I'm finished. But the support of coming out 9:30 that morning is more important than the donations. Come out, show your support in numbers. Because this is how they get away with stuff. They operate in the shadows. And they do it behind closed doors. And they're taking a lot of us out like this. A lot of people that you see flipping, they have stuff against them. They entrap them. They have, secret information on them. And a lot of that stuff is entrapment. And they get you bound up, keep you quiet. No, we gotta fight regardless. You suffering anyway. We all suffering. Which brings me up to point number 2. Support our good sister, Thurn Shivers. Shivers. I'll also put her GoFundMe on my page. We are in the same coalition in Hempstead, fighting for justice for our people, and she is being racially and politically displaced for years. This is how they operate. They did the same thing to Sister Catherine Gary. She was over at 600 Fulton years ago, and she was politically displaced for standing up for the community. Yes, that's true. She was a resident of Hempstead for years. And when you active and you challenging the status quo, there's racism, there's injustice, there's segregation, there's inequality, they work behind the scenes to work against you. But we have to change that around, and we are changing it around. 2023 is our time. We're bringing light on this. Support each other. Don't let each other suffer in silence. We've been doing that for too long. You have these faults, these guilts and stuff, especially those of us that used to get in trouble. Our parents will whip us and stuff. If you got in trouble, you got to whip them. So naturally, you feel bad about doing something bad and you don't want nobody to know. You're embarrassed by that. Damn right. You can have that feeling, but you got to overcome that. We have to become fearless. That's the faithful. Faith is the inverse opposite of fear. When you have faith, you're fearless. You're full of fear, you lack faith. They're both inversely proportional in their relationship to you. And you keep faith, you're strong. And you keep going strong. And no one can stop you, only yourself. But you're full of fear, anyone push you around. You be shocked to a broken person. Then the third update, Village of Hempstead board meeting at Carmen Place, gentrification tomorrow. We oppose it. That's tomorrow, Village of Hempstead, 99 James Gone Away, the village board that they plan on demolishing and tearing down. That's tomorrow, 6 p.m. The village board meeting will be about Carmen Place. And that Carmen, I believe, is named after that racist that swindled the land from the Native American Takapashu, the Native American leader in Nassau County. And that Carmen Place is the step, is a foot they got in the door to continue further displacement and further gentrification. They have displaced thousands of us. We've lost our small businesses, lost our homes, lost our families, our schools, our children relationship. We have lost. We got to get it back and fight and to build something more relevant, more culturally relevant that will enhance our lives, increase our incomes, illumine us, properly educate us. We're under miseducation. We got to bring that all to task. Come out tomorrow for the village board meeting and the public hearing in regards to Carmen Place. It is gentrification, it is displacement and gentrification. If you want to get familiar with it, I did previous videos on it. It's in my lives. I did the walkthrough. Right here is Carmen Place. This is the 278 apartment complex they plan on building in this area to my right. That's Carmen Place, next to the Stella, so-called affordable housing. But this is going to take out a whole strip mall that I'm about to show you in 2 homes. That little 2.5 acre plot of land that was on 32 acres of stolen parking lots that the village, that moron Wayne Hall, the former mayor Wayne Hall, gave away to developers. 32 acres of valuable hub real estate. And Hempstead is the central hub of Nassau County. It used to be commerce, now is transportation. But they wanted it again for a yuppie city. Can't let it happen. And Don Monty and Scott Reckler, and those investors, that Russian oligarch, they have that land and they've sold it. Or Don Monty have sold it, but they all working together in unison against us. They sold that land for like 3-something million. They got it for free. They stole it, 32 acres, and they're selling parcels of it for millions. While they robbing the village every year, the last 20 years, over 20 million a year. We could be using that to invest in the village. Come on out and show your displeasure with the gentrification plan. It's called the Master Development Agreement. It's Renaissance developers that's misdeveloping that 300 acres of the Hempstead Village downtown. It is a gentrification plan. That means Black and low income people and struggling people get kicked out, homeowners, you lose your homes, and the gentry comes in for enhanced live development while being subsidized by the surviving Hempstead homeowners. Got to change, got to stop. Thank you, Jesus. The next meeting, I'll update a recap of what happened last Tuesday at Village of Hempstead board meeting of the City Charter Commission. We were denied a voice. Again, deception. It's the same people. These people don't care about us. Mayor Waylon Hobbs, Deputy Mayor Jeffrey Daniels, they're stooges. with these outside developers, these investors, these oligarchs of the duopoly that have taken over Hempstead to make it a land for the rich and not for us. Waylon Hobbs deceived us for months. This has been over a year. We were having these community meetings about forming the city charter commission. Waylon Hobbs was bragging about that. Oh, Hempstead is going to be a city. It's going to be prosperous and good for us. Come to the meetings so you get informed. We watched the power. With the first meeting at Kennedy Park, we started raising questions. It messed him up. It brought out his true colors. He was deceiving. He got and put in a bad light. So then he determined from then on, he's going to silence, muzzle, and censor any voices against this city plan. That's not even the worst part of the misdevelopment is the gentrification that is a misdevelopment. That is more economic injustice and racial inequality. So he bragged and touted that, oh, these meetings are just my PowerPoint. You're gonna come watch me, oh, the brilliant Waylon Hobbs.
Peace, and then Mother Bob, I'm Muhammad. Pray that everyone is well. This is in regards to the City Charter Commission meetings we've had. We've had 3 thus far, and none of our question, ideas, or concerns have been addressed. You promised us, after censoring, muting, and muzzling us during the preliminary meetings, that all of our questions and concerns would be addressed in the city charter meetings. I specifically commented and submitted a question and information that the considered wards should be equally popular, a point not mentioned in that discussion. When are we going to have input and participation in the city charter meetings?
That's your question? Okay. So, Brother Abu Muhammad, according to the open meeting law, keyword law, public participation is a courtesy and not a request. In our village board meetings, we open it up to the public because we want to hear from our residents and their concerns. But it's nothing that you're required to do. The City Charter Commission, when they meet, they obey the open meeting law, and it is their decision that they're not going to have any public participation. They request, if you have something they ask, you write it down, and they will get back to you. Now, I don't control how fast they get back to you, but those are the rules. So they're not doing anything illegal, they're not doing anything wrong, they're following the open meeting law.
You actually went by your words at the African American Museum.
Wait a minute, you're confusing.
No, but I'm saying, you told us at the African American Museum, no, you can't raise any extra questions other than what we put down on that 3x5 card. Outside of that, no, wait till we get to the city. You said that twice. You canceled.
And again, let me try one more time. Okay. So, the City Charter Commission has decided that instead of having public participation in their meetings, that they will give you an opportunity to write whatever question you have down, and they will get back to you. Again, the speed in which they get back to you, I have no control. But this is how they are taking the questions. You write it down and they'll get back to you.
You commented to us at the African American Museum, it seemed like you had to.
Well, that's just an assumption. You know, when you assume, you make up.
A stooge, and he hated his black self. And come and watch these meetings, and we're not going to let you answer any more questions, but what you can do is we're going to have the City Charter Commission meetings, and they'll explain everything to you. It's been 3 of those meetings so far. The second Thursday of every month is those City Charter Commission meetings. This last Thursday we went to one. This was the 3rd meeting that we were supposed to have been able to have input, ask questions, and raise issues and concerns about the pros and cons of the city. And we just watched this board go through the motions of comparing other cities. This is 60 cities in the New York State, from upstate Albany all the way down to Long Beach, to Buffalo, to other cities. And none of them are comparable to us because we are being gentrified. We have been devitalized for over 2 decades. So it's a grave difference. So, but Waylon Hobbs promised us, oh, you can come in, you can have input, you have all your questions answered. The second meeting, well, we didn't know the first meeting happened. They stuck it in. That was in November. So then we found out in December, in January, we asked questions in the December meeting. What's going on here? What's up with the development, the city pros and cons, and the education? They said, oh no, that's irrelevant to our meeting today. We're just meeting to find out what we're going to do. So no questions were allowed to be answered. Thursday we came in. This meeting was supposed to have been them updating us on their comparisons of the 60 city charters, which they didn't read and they didn't compare. They handpicked a few. And the examples of how a council will be set up. Would the mayor at the head of a city, would he have wards? Would he have wards, W-A-R-D, or would they have councils? So they were going back discussing that. I raised my hand to comment on wards because there are different populations they were speaking about, mixes in the wards they wanted to point out between the heights and the hills, etc. They didn't even know the other parts of the village were named, Parkside, stuff like that. And so Jeffrey Daniels, the deputy mayor, said, no, you can't speak here. You don't give any input. You're just gonna watch us have a discussion. Again, these are arrogant slaves, doing their master's biddings, and they don't want us interfering with their master's biddings. So I submitted a form. They gave us forms to fill out questions about this city charter meeting. So on my form, I filled out a comment and questions directly related to what they were discussing, of the comparison of the cities, of the wards. And I wanted to comment that the wards, they wanted the wards, they never mentioned the equality that should be in wards of population. If you're gonna split the village up into wards and a council member represents each ward, then common sense should tell you, if you're fair, that each ward should be split up by population, estimated population. So that way you all have an equal vote, you all have equal representation of your constituency. And none of them mention that because they're not fair, they don't care. It fits the nature of crooked people to where they want to be unjust and empowered in themselves and have a voice and don't want you to have voice or input of power because they're serving a master like that. That's building on greater inequality. I submitted my question on the paper. The person up there now, I believe her name is Peter Stansbury, whatever it was. Peta, P-E-T-A, I believe. She looked at my question and it was absolutely relevant to what they were discussing, the wards. I said the ward should have all equal populations for each representative. She put the paper down because her boss, Waylon Hobbs, didn't give her permission for us, because he had it pre-planned and he had it predetermined for no one to comment, to give input. That's how they operate, lack of transparency. We cannot trust them. They do not represent us. They represent their handlers and their masters, developers, investors, and the duopoly of oligarchs, of the Democrat and the Republicans. Both of them have the same plans in Hempstead. They have all teamed up against Black people, keeping Black people a permanent underclass. The Black Democrats and the Black, well, they're actually Negro Democrats and Negro Republicans. Both of those clubs in Hempstead are different sides of the same coin. They're birds of the same feather. and they're teaming up against, both of them supports the gentrification project of Hempstead. And they all, and a Russian oligarch who's financing it. A Russian oligarch is financing the racist gentrification of Black Hempstead through this puppet board. They all team up and support us, stopping us from having generational wealth. They agree, let's stop Black people from developing generational wealth. Let's keep displacing them. Let's keep devitalizing them. Let's keep them nomadic, ignorant of the lack of knowledge of themselves, of nationalism, of economic empowerment. That's the board that misrepresents you. So come on out to the next City Charter Commission meeting, the second Thursday of November. Or come out tomorrow to the village meeting to express your dissatisfaction with that. We can't be silent. We can't be behind the scenes. We can't keep turning a blind eye. American justice represented by a blindfolded white woman. She got a sword of justice in her right hand and the scales of justice in the left hand. And scales of justice are full of money. That's the only thing that stirs her. And they say, oh, the blindfold is so that she can't see you, so that she can administer justice and be fair. She can hear your native Black American voice just as clear as you could hear mine. And now the gets of my live here, which is still gonna be short too, because it's late. It's actually the end of the day, and I have a headache, and I'm getting excited here. I gotta relax. And it's short, and it's the true legacy of our honored ancestor, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. That is our beautiful ancestor. Dr. King, he sacrificed much. He was a dedicated brother. He's a genuine, dedicated brother, dedicated to elevating us and living in justice and equity. Except he had a fault. He didn't understand the nature of white Americans. He was naive, and like too many of our people, we trust an unrepentant oppressor. For hundreds of years, Caucasians have proved that given the power, the freedom to rule over us, it will be unjust and they will be oppressors. And they will play, some people are good, some people are bad against us, when the overall outcome is as us remaining a permanent underclass in America. And went from chattel slavery all the way to Jim Crow, segregation, to raising our all Black towns. Every step we take, every maneuver we make, every move we make, they have a plan to keep us a permanent underclass, nomadic, independent on the Caucasians who rule this country. Dr. King believed the idea that was being touted at the time. He believed, white liberals, that they truly could bring about justice and equality for us, which was the big scheme. He believed that we could live together. Even here in some of his speeches that they promote, the early and mid-life of his career speeches, but towards the end, he changed it towards Black economic nationalism and anti-war mongering. He believed in liberals saying, in time, we will change. And then in increments and slow steps, you can get closer to us, closer to white people. But they didn't say it like that. What did they say? You have more jobs, you have better education, you have better housing. They use code words, coded language, and tropes, and platitudes to win over Black people, thinking that they were good white people. Our people used to say that. I say hear our elders say that. Those are good white people. And if you have to distinguish good and bad, that relationship is sour. What was the civil rights movement? Joel Spingarn. That's S-P-I-N-G-A-R-N. Garn, the first chairman of the NAACP. It's Caucasian. He created a philosophy specifically for blacks that he called non-economic liberalism, which ultimately became known as the civil rights movement. Non-economic liberalism, and that's what you have today in education and economics, and in black communities that are not even communities. Every black community across the country resembles a colony, an 18th century colony. We're overtaxed, overpoliced, miseducated, misrepresented, devitalized, and gentrified. They've been doing that for a century, pulling them, just tricking us. They're tricksters. And it works out like that. And we trusted them because they used the right words. Seems like with us, all you got to do is say the right words. Obama said the right words. He literally spit in our face when he said, I ain't for no reparations. Black people don't need no reparations. He said, jobs for like poor people and school for people who can't go to school. Better education is reparations for Native Black Americans. He said that as he is becoming president because he didn't want to upset whites. His main focus is the energy of Caucasian people. That's a slave who relies on their master and always concerned about what their master thinks. Now he came out just the other day. Oh, I think Black Americans are due reparations and they should, because the climate has changed. More of us woke up. So just like he really is nothing more, Barack Obama is nothing more than a superstar politician. And it's your problem as you admire politicians. They're professional thieves and liars and tricksters and performers, masters of ceremonies. And they put a spell on you. And most of us fall for the spell. Dr. King, in his last days, he met the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. You see that picture up there? That's him meeting with the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. And the most honorable Elijah Muhammad told him about the nature of Caucasian people and our history in this country and our potential and the things we could do. The most honorable Elijah Muhammad paid for Dr. King to travel to see him, to visit him. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. also visited the mosque, the mighty Mosque number 7 and Shabazz restaurant in Harlem. And he knew a sister in there that he knew from his hometown. And you should see the joy and love that came across his face when he met that sister. This is, yeah, we people from down in his hometown growing up, where he was born, and he was elated knowing that. But when Dr. King met the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, you see him in that picture absorbing that wisdom, getting that. He humbled himself. Said, this man is right. Black man got to do something for himself. And after that meeting, Dr. King woke up and he started preaching and executing Black nationalist economics and doing for self and boycott. That was economic. He went boycott and punish white businesses that didn't do right by us. Boycott them and support Black businesses. And he called for reparations. That's the video I put down on my page. Go look at that video from yesterday. On his birthday. That's him in church saying how the whites of this country were blessed with affirmative action handouts, pulled up by their bootstraps, blessed and graced by this government with over 100 million acres. It was more than that. It was literally the whole country, but at that particular time, the Hempstead Act, stuff like that, grants and training, millions and millions of acres to develop for themselves, to build a future for them. And that all that time, we had 20 million acres the last 100 years stolen from us, Native Black Americans. Not only did they bless and grace whites of this country with over 100 million acres of valuable land to give them the investment, the low interest loans. Dr. King is talking about that in the video. You bless them. Low interest rates. Train them how to do it. Train them how to develop the land. In that century, during that, we had over 20 million acres of land, and they took, on the record, they say it's 12 million, but they took 18 million acres of our land. It was stolen from us outright. That's what we get from America. They raised our all black towns. And what the promise and how did they do it? They put a spell on us. Non-economic liberalism. And it's prolific today. It is the epitome and the essence of the Democratic Party. That literally is blue MAGA. Joe Biden was in Dr. King's church today, invited by Senator Warren. I forgot how to pronounce his name. The recent senator that was elected in Georgia, Senator Andrew Warnock, invited Joe Biden, an anti-black racist that call for segregated schools. He hot spit in your face. You let him hot spit on the grave of our beloved and honored ancestor, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Senator Warnock. You're a disgrace. You're a preacher. And you invited that anti-black racist. He's blue MAGA. He's only putting up these reparations. So now Obama has gotten on board. You see, it's safe now. That old no good Joe Biden, who's suffering from dementia. I told you that by December, that dementia was going to take him out. Now they're looking for a door for him to make an exit out. They see that he's just that medication has gotten to him. He is suffering that dementia so bad, the medication side effect is tearing him apart. They leaked those secret documents that he had in the garage and other places. This is a ploy to use it as an excuse where he won't run. Knowing that's like weekend at Bernie's of bringing a dead body out to drag around as a front for your politician. It's sad, but it represents America and it fits you perfect. They have the right platitudes. They have the right words. All they do is play us. Then Dr. King in his last days, he not only called for reparations, he stood against America's warmongering.
And I say this morning that it is my hope that every young man in this country who finds this war objectionable and abominable and unjust, but file as a conscientious objector. And no matter what you think of Mr. Muhammad Ali's religion, you certainly have to admire his courage. Here it is, a young man willing to give up fame if necessary, willing. I call on every man and woman of goodwill all over America today. I call on the young men of America who must make a choice today. Take a stand on this issue. Tomorrow may be too late.
At the very same time that America refused to give the Negro any land, through an act of Congress, our government was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that it was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor. But not only did they give the land, they built land grant colleges with government money to teach them how to farm. Not only that, they provided county agents to further their expertise in farming. Not only that, they provided low interest rates in order that they could mechanize their farms. Not only that, today many of these people are receiving millions of dollars in federal subsidies not to farm, and they are the very people telling the black man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps. This is what we are faced with. And this is a reality now when we come to Washington. In this campaign, we are coming to get our check.
And that is what got him assassinated. And we have to be aware of this, because this is, now look at the Democrats. They're warmongers fighting Ukraine. They're supporting Ukraine to fight against Russia, pouring $100 billion into that racist country. They have Nazis in Ukraine that hate black people and others, and you pouring all your money into that, while we are homeless here, suffering the worst. We have the worst statistics in this nation economically. Why? Because they did the most powerful move on us while they raised our all black towns. We practiced nationalism. We built them all black towns. We were successful and prosperous over 100 years ago. We excelled the whites around us. And out of envy and jealousy and that natural Caucasian hatred to keep us in our place as a permanent underclass of them. And their place for us is a permanent underclass, if you trust them in their non-economic liberalism. The whites in the North always promise, I'm a liberal, I'm a good person. They're the worst ones. That Bernie Sanders always throwing out platitudes. Oh, tax the rich and do this and that. Knowing good and well they're not going to do it. Knowing good and well he's just a voice. He's playing good cop, bad cop. We have to do something for ourselves. And we are Dr. King's legacy. Dr. King was a genuine brother. His heart changed. It went from him trusting him to him calling him out. What do you think that letter was in the Birmingham jail? He was calling out them liberals, saying, you hypocrites, and I'm in here, you asking me to tone it down. I said, but I have to be principled. This is the price I'm willing to pay. And those same liberals, work the ADL and others worked with the United States government to assassinate him. And he had Negroes around him. Those Negroes around Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. set him up. They were at the hotel. They knew it was going. They positioned him to be there. All of them. Just like Malcolm. We had FBI and CIA agents, the deep state surrounded Malcolm. Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said the Nation of Islam was honeycombed with these deep state agents. So as it was then, it is today. Look at Negro politicians. They in government offices. The church is failing. You've given up on the church. You know it's fake. You know you need to do something for yourself. So you've gone from the church. Every black preacher in Hempstead almost is in politics now. They have been made offers in politics. I've been invited to those meetings for a sellout salary. I refuse. I'm not for sale. I'm with Dr. King. We are his legacy. Most preachers disgrace Dr. King's legacy, and he must be sat down. And true freedom fighters and social justice warriors must take charge for our future. And our future is the youth, educating them on the proper history. White man has proven he is disagreeable to live in peace with. You can live with some of them. Some of them are peaceful, but most of them, for the most part, are with the system of American white supremacy. Hitler modeled Nazi Germany off American white supremacy. It's that bad. And we sitting up here, keep trusting a system that betrays us at every avenue, every phase of our presence here since we're the original people here. I believe that number of the population of the Western Hemisphere was something like 40%. They always hide in our history. Look at Dr. King. He just passed. They assassinated him in '68. During that whole time up to now, it was just maybe 10 years ago we started hearing his serious speeches. They got him murdered, assassinated. Imagine what they did to our other history, to everybody else. The original people of the Western Hemisphere were black. The oldest excavated skeleton in the Western Hemisphere is a black woman. They call her Lucia. When you go Google that, the oldest skeletal remains in the Western Hemisphere, it's in Brazil. It was a Peloponnesian black woman. They name her Lucia. It's the Spanish name for Lucy. Like Lucy was the oldest skeletal remains of a person, the black woman in Africa, East Africa. I believe that's the Omo Valley. And Kenya, I believe, Dakaliki. These are the oldest skeletal remains of us as we reemerged. We reemerged in the world. The world is constantly recycling itself. Cycles of time. But the oldest skeleton was a black woman. And they had a graphic image of her, of a reconstruction of how she looked. It's a black woman. And a couple of years ago, these Caucasians infuriated at that evidence. They burned that museum down. And luckily, her skeletal remains survived. They weren't expecting it to survive. Her skeletal remains survived. They burned the museum down. They hate history. The Olmecs, black men that built civilization here in the Western Hemisphere and spread it around. In the Amazon, we even grew that forest, the jungle, the way it is, and had the river going a certain way. In the Amazon, that jungle canopy, there's 12 other mighty black kings buried in temple civilizations, buried by the jungle. We buried them in the jungle. We built the jungle. We buried our civilization, stone monolithic structures in Turkey called Teke Palekte. I don't know if I pronounced that right. Tepe Galepe. It's our ancient monument stone structures of a civilization that predates the first Stone Age by thousands of years in Turkey, and it was buried under dirt. We buried it. We buried our civilization under sand. We buried it underwater. We the gods. We the original people. If we would accept our own and be ourselves, all this is being revealed now. And every time it is Caucasians went and found out that the original people are black, civilization was black, they covered it. They covered it up, and they chipped the noses and lips off of ancient black statues, all the ones that they found. They never chipped the nose and the lips off of the Olmecs because it was buried. We buried it under the jungle. And that's why when we uncover the other 12 kings in the Amazon, you're going to see these were black men. That's our legacy. And Dr. King must be remembered for his legacy as a freedom fighter and a social justice warrior. He was a genuine man who wanted social equality for us and empowerment of us. And we've got to do it. We cannot keep following our oppressors out of our desperate need for validation and weak power from the Democrat and the Republican Party. They're both ran by the same oligarchs. Both of them, they are a duopoly. They hate the poor, they hate black people, and they pit us against each other. This is why they bring in so many immigrants to this country. They no longer want our labor. Minister Farrakhan mentioned this decades ago, that we are no longer wanted here. You can't believe it. You're so hurt because you don't love yourself and you don't submit to Allah. our true Father. The Father is Allah, the God, the supreme Allah. So since we reject him, we turn towards our adopted father, the Caucasian white man, for everything. And every time you do that, you get punished. You wind up at the bottom, tricked, deceived. It will never work out for you. It will always be a dead end. But the perfect place for us is at top with Allah, the supreme Allah, who have come to us in the person of Master Fard Muhammad and exalted his Christ, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, and their man and presence in our midst, soon to be united with them, Minister Louis Farrakhan, our good brother and model to follow in being obedient and dutiful to Allah. If we follow his example, we'll be successful. Do that all around the country, and we'll see changes. We cannot trust the government. We cannot trust their satellites, their organizations, these sub-organizations that they fund. As soon as they come in with funding, you know it's a trick. They send in agents amongst us. They got Judases that are the biggest volunteers. Most Black organizations, those zealous volunteers, always volunteering, they getting funded. They getting paid that you don't see. They say, oh, I sacrifice, I volunteer, I do so much for you. Those are the Judases, micromanaging your organization. And they know all the members' information. They know all your anonymous supporters. You're the supporter that's anonymous. Say, I don't want people to know I'm with you. I want to be behind the scenes. And so the leader of the organization says, go work with my representative, my man, my assistant, and then be a daggone deep state stooge, giving up the information. And the next time this anonymous supporter goes to the office water fountain, it's some deep state operative, sort of like being indirect with them. Yeah, I wish I would find somebody that supported Minister Farrakhan around here. I wish I would find somebody that supported them Black Panthers. I wish I would find somebody that supported that genuine Black preacher that fights for social justice. I wish I would find someone around here doing that. And he gets the anonymous supporter nervous. So he gives up his support. So I can't support you no more. And that's how they work behind the scenes. And that's what they did to Dr. King and Malcolm X, to all of our people who have been betrayed. Fred Hampton. The list goes on. So how do we overcome that? We need the spirit of Dr. King. We got to be, he said, I don't fear any man now. Dr. King said, I'm not afraid. I've been to the mountaintop. He lost his fear and he was drenched in faith. And that faith is what got him through, and it's going to get us through. But it can't be for the trick of that false integration, that non-economic liberalism that the NAACP was founded. A white man founded the NAACP. Some so-called Black colleges were founded by white men. Howard University. These were founded, many of them were founded by white men, except for Tuskegee, which produced beautiful stuff. Look at what Booker T did. Even though Andrew Carnegie gave it, and Andrew Carnegie actually was mixed with Black. That's where the name determined his last name. Neg means, like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Well, that neg means Negro. That means Black over in Europe. Andrew Carnegie, he got ran out of there. And then he went back to Scotland, a rich, wealthy man with something to prove. Because he had that stigma of having that neg in his name. And he came to America with a compulsive disorder of gaining more money and wealth. That's a disease, greed for money. It'll consume you. And the independent Black universities like Tuskegee produce good results. George Washington Carver with a genius in the lab. But the other HBCUs produce the current state now. Black America resembles colonies because they give you an inferior curriculum. You have to bring the knowledge of self there. You are not Black Greeks. You're the original people. The Greeks is not children. How do you expect that to work out? You following the knowledge of you're following child knowledge. So you have child results. This is why the white man is your father instead of the supreme Allah, whom we lost from. We're the lost and now found nation of Islam in the wilderness of North America. The gods, original Black man and woman. Come on, accept your own, be yourself. And you will have that vision. Got to be activated with the righteous. You have supreme power. It's things in the society that's killing it. These artificial GMOs. This diluted food. This devitalized food, demineralized food. This programming, the music programming, the TV, the movies, all that. These video games, destructive, violent, silly, stupid books and pornography and all type of drugs and these this is a setup for us to destroy your divine activation of your 7.5 ounces of original brains. It takes you into a whole different sphere through the righteous, through each other. That's the meaning of the angels. When you activate yourself and you're amongst the righteous, purified people, you got to be purified. You got to be detoxified from the sickness and disease of capitalism. It's all compulsion. It's the essence of white supremacy. It's very simple. This man, he keep you simple, dumb, deaf, and blind. He dumbs you down in education. He print trillions and trillions of dollars. He give most of it to a handful of his friends and then sprinkle the rest, the little in increments amongst the masses, so you elbow each other out the way and get savage against each other to get the crumbs. And that you hope that some more will trickle down if you would kiss the ass of the oligarchs that rule this country. America's not a democracy, it's an oligarchy. And Dr. King recognized that. And he said, we are coming to Washington to get our check. He knew we would do reparations, we would do justice. And he started seeing through that non-economic liberalism. And they condemned him. They're going to condemn you. But when we accept our own, we don't care. You know, think about these people. We've got to turn towards each other. Strive for purification. Seek Allah's grace. That is the key. It is the only way. Allah's grace is the only thing that's going to get us through. Brothers and sisters, I'm glad you joined me. I know it's late. I have a headache. It's 11:30, but it's good. This is good timing. And I hope that your Monday was good. It was cold out. And Tuesday, remember, come on out to the village meeting. Support Mom, support Sister Thurn. And let's get our community up. Be concerned about each other. That's the true, what was the purpose? Doing all this activism, all this protesting, all of this complaining, but that we need to take simple actions and steps to help each other locally. Start building families, extended families, strengthening fatherhood, training, womanhood. And start doing things for our own instead, because if you don't, you're going to turn into robots. You're going to turn you into you from this point on. Well, I said it years ago. I'll repeat it again. You are God, cyborg, a zombie. The choice is yours. Choose wisely. Because they're turning this nation towards automation and AI. Because the Caucasian, he doesn't have a soul, a natural love for nature and God and humanity. He didn't treat us like this. Is why he's not our brother. He doesn't treat us like brothers. You may find personal relationships like that, but collectively, he's going to be your master, and he's going to do it through robots. And we can avert that by self-love, faith, and activating our 7.5 ounces of spiritual atoms brain. 7.5 ounces of brain is spiritual atom. The average brain weighs 3 pounds. The Caucasian have the 6 ounces of brain. That doesn't have the God potential that we do. That's why he shuts us down. He's so afraid of us. He's always got these policies against us, working against us behind the scenes. That envy, that race envy, a God complex, that's in him. We got to shrug him off and be our own, to create our own God legacy of the righteous. Always call it the righteous. The best Muslim is a righteous Muslim. There ain't no other Muslim like that except a righteous Muslim. And brothers and sisters, we got to be right by each other. And Allah guides.
Don't let anybody make you think that God chose America as his divine, messianic force to be a sort of policeman of the whole world. God has a way of standing before the nations with judgment, and it seems that I can hear God saying to America, you are too arrogant. If you don't change your ways, I will rise up and break the backbone of your power. And I'll place it in the hands of a nation that doesn't even know my name.
All right, family. I leave you as I greeted you in the ancient Arabic words of peace. Assalamu alaikum. Peace unto you. Have a grace week. Look out for each other. Stay strong, stay focused. I love you, family. And I pray for the best of us. Grace and peace unto you.